Who is my real dad? It's an interesting term, isn't it? Real dad. Young men, young women, ask this question often. Who is my real dad? Or they'll refer to their dad as their real dad. I've often struggled with this concept, right? Like I've struggled with this notion because language has meaning and language carries power. And so most of the time when people are saying their real dad, what they're actually saying is my biological father, my biological dad. But let's just break down the word real for a moment. I'm not talking about an Oxford Dictionary example of what the word real means, but what does real mean and signify to your life, in your life? For me, real is something that's tangible, not just physical or reserved for the material, but also the immaterial. But it's real to me, it's meaningful to me, it matters to me, makes a difference in my life. It's something that I value. It's real means that I'm interacting with it on a regular basis. It's real means that for me, if that thing was missing in my life, I may be disorientated for a period of time. I may be disconnected. I may feel awkward. I may feel a sense of loss because that thing that's real has been taken from my life. For me, real means priority. It means it has a place in my life. So, on the matter of father or parent, works both ways. Like my real mother. What people are really saying is they're saying their biological parent. But what if your biological parent wasn't there for you? What if they were there for you, but they weren't there for you? They were emotionally absent. They were even physically absent. What if you knew them really well, or you thought you knew them really well, or you just knew them, yet they weren't available in the way that you needed them growing up, developmentally, the way that you needed them to be and show up? Like, yes, they're your real parent, they're in your reality, but on the conversation of biological parent or step parent, I know many step parents that fill the role of real parent really, really well. Now, they're not their biological father or mother, but man, do they fill that role with everything they have? Do they lean all the way in? For them, there's no distinction. Even for that child, there's no distinction. Now, healthy parent-child dynamics, they're more rare than they are healthily available in our society. However, they exist. And so I find it interesting when someone says, oh, my real father or my real mother. Yet they've got this step parent that has invested their energy and resources in them in a really deep way. Now, don't get me wrong. There are horror stories when it comes to step parenting as well, where that individual that has come into that family dynamic, and we'll call it a father, we'll call it a male figure, that's married into or that has chosen a long-term partnership with a woman that has children, he's been a fucking disaster. He has caused more harm than good. And you don't want to be calling him real, or you don't want any association with that in terms of realness. It might be your reality, and it's unfortunate, and it's painful, and it's deep, and it hurts. And they exist. So step parents aren't all glory. They're not all rainbows, unicorns, roses. There's issues with that as well. I just find it interesting that we refer to our biological parents as real parents, no matter what the social circumstances. No matter how they raised you, whether they were absent, whether they abandoned you, whether they were violent. Like, there's this priority, this power that the biological parent has over us. think about that for a moment. Now there's some truth to that though. There's some truth that the biological parent also matters, irrespective of whether they cause more harm than good, whether they were abusive or not. All those things matter, of course, and it lends itself to our development, the way that we see ourselves, the way that we give and receive love, the way that we care about ourselves, our self-worth, our perception of ourselves, the way that we pursue our goals or don't pursue our goals, the way we treat others and treat ourselves. Like, all of that matters. And there's definitely power in the biological parent in terms of what they've passed down genetically, like genetic information that then can be activated by one's environment, epigenetics, right? And we know that more and more as we move through the world. So there's value in the biological parent, but I think sometimes we give too much value to the genetics, too much value to the biology, to that genetic pass down, and sometimes not enough value to our environment, our social environment. I'm not one to say nurture is bigger and greater and better than nature. It's not about that. This isn't the conversation. They both play pivotal roles in the way that we develop and we see ourselves and we do all the things in the world. But this notion of real, maybe it's time to just reevaluate, maybe shift, maybe see ourselves, the world, a little bit different. And I don't necessarily have a lot of answers here. I'm just asking the question. When we use that language, how does it impact what we create and attract into our lives? And how does it impact us and what we yearn for and what we crave and what we desire, and therefore act in accordance with that craving and that desire? And maybe a little controlled by it, overwhelmed by it even. Food for thought. I'd love to hear yours.